Our next guest is widely known as the widow of American sniper Chris Kyle, but Taya is also now an accomplished shooter, gun rights advocate, and best-selling author. And she joins us now. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm working through things. You know, like we were talking about before, this the congestion and all that other stuff. But other than that, things are good. Things are good.
Good.
So I got to ask you, how was it winning the American Sniper Contest?
Okay, so the crazy thing is that just that title alone makes people think that I'm a great shooter or something, but I'm not. The whole point of the competition was that I'm a total amateur and that even a monkey on a gun, me, could get that shot versus the world champion NRA shooter. So it really was to showcase the technology. I think it did it really well because, trust me, I could not make those shots without the technology of the gun.
Yeah, and in many ways, that was kind of like a very overly broad aspect of, because I've never actually gotten behind that gun before. So it was interesting to really kind of talk to somebody who has and kind of give me their experience on and how did it feel.
Yeah, you need to get on it because I'm telling you. So first of all, I think it's interesting. I mean, they didn't have windage calculated in when I was shooting it, but I think they do have that now. But you know, the guy that developed it, John McHale, he developed it based on conversations he had with Chris because he would go hunting and he would say, I can't make these shots as, you know, frequently or consistently as I want to. And so he's asking Chris what he considered before he'd take a long range shot. So they put all that technology into this split second of this weapon. And I thought, number one, that was fascinating, good, effective. I had to give some thought to, are people using it for hunting? I don't really think that's as fair, right? I mean, I don't. I know people do, but he said predator control was a big issue for people on ranches, and that made a lot of sense to me. I know a lot of people in Wyoming have, you know, problems with the coyotes. We have horrible problems with hogs here that do so much damage to ranches. So that one made a big difference to me. But the primary reason I got behind it is that for our law enforcement and military guys, this is a game changer. And I really wanted the military to wake up. They've seen it and they're dragging their feet because they have some of that old mentality of, oh, it was good enough for us, you know, and we had these old weapons. And the point is, well, if somebody's life is on the line, then why wouldn't we try to do better? And I don't know, did you see the part where you have the glasses on it and in the glasses you can see what the scope sees? Yeah. So that part to me, that's one of the best things about it, because if you can hide behind a wall and stick the gun out, and be able to the scope and take a shot, then we're saving guys' lives. I mean, I have friends that died while serving with Chris that I believe would be alive today, and maybe they would have their hands shot off from the angle of the gun, but they would not have gotten shot in the head or the face.
Gotcha. Oh, you're right. From the exposure, actually. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And so now, prior to meeting Chris, were you into firearms at all, or was it something that happened as a result of your relationship?
Yeah, so what's interesting is that my dad would hunt growing up. He'd ask me if I wanted to hunt. I didn't want to. I never thought I could kill anything. I could barely kill a fly in my house, you know, one of those people. And then, you know, Chris would hunt and he'd tell me about guns and my eyes would kind of glaze over because I really understand it. And I always thought one day we would go and I would learn. And even for home protection, before I had kids, I remember telling Chris, you can teach me how to use it, but I don't know that I would. I don't know that I would shoot someone, even if they came into my home. That was before kids. Yeah. Because did I have fun? I was like, oh yeah, you can teach me how to use that, how to shoot it, how to, you know, like put a tight grouping in. Like I'm not messing around, right, when it comes to my kids. So that's kind of when I started learning a little bit more about the handgun. But I would not say that I was proficient at all. And so after Chris was killed, I got an opportunity to go with Weatherby to shoot and hunt in Wyoming for antelope. And it was a very emotional experience for me. It really introduced me to that world of hunting that I thought I would do with Chris one day, but our kids were little. So I would take care of the kids, or I'd tell them to go do it with the guys, or, you know, I was trying to be supportive that way. And I just didn't get out and do it with him. I mean, we'd go, but the actual hunt, we'd go to the location, but the actual hunt he would do on his own. And so once I got that feeling and I understood that circle of life thing and being out in nature, how healing and therapeutic it is, how much attention that the firearm takes makes it impossible to think about your problems. So if you're at the range, I mean, you have to pay so much attention that you can forget about everything else that's bugging you. And so I started to see the beauty in the sport aspect of it, in the hunt. we had tons of meat when Chris died in the freezer, but we didn't, without him hunting. And so it was my turn, and I felt sort of empowered, and I felt like it was an important continuation of his legacy for our kids too, to know that we can hunt for food and we can fill our freezer and we can learn about ethics and nature and safety and all of those things together. So it's been something I'm just really blessed to have the opportunity to know it. And I feel really passionate about it, having not done it until I was 40 years old. I mean, that's, it's a good introduction. I
didn't shoot my first gun until I was 25. So
really?
In many ways I can definitely relate to that. Especially when it comes to the idea of, I hear it a lot from a lot of people, actually, because I talk to a lot of people who don't really care for guns too much. And so they kind of echo the same sentiments you had. They're like, I don't want to kill anyone. I don't have to think about killing one or do anything like that. However, when you introduce the idea of kids or somebody that they care about, protecting them, that light cuts on, and it's like no question whatsoever.
Yeah. You're not going to jack around with it, you know? And I think that's the other thing is I feel like a lot of times people, when their lives are touched by evil, they have a different perspective. And I don't know the woman's name. You might know it, but I had a friend telling me the other day about this woman who was coming home from a protest against the Second Amendment, guns, all that stuff. And I think it was years ago. And she was going back, and she got carjacked leaving the protest, and she had kids in the car. And somebody who did have their CHL came to her rescue.
Wow.
And
I didn't hear
she
about that.
flipped in that moment, right? I know I got to find her name and make a post or something about it, because otherwise it's just a great story.
Yeah.
But, it's things like that. Once you're touched by it and you realize that evil exists, it's out there, it's a heartbeat away from you and your family at all times, then you do get a little more serious about it. And I think from the hunting aspect too, I don't know, do you hunt too?
I do, yeah. I don't nearly do it enough, but I have, and I don't have a problem doing it,
Yeah, and so I think part of it is educating people a little bit on, when you go, at least the people I've been hunting with, they're so ethical about it. The one shot, one kill, you don't want to just wound an animal, you want to make it fast. And like that antelope, we were able to feed some homeless people in Wyoming, and that, I was told that was the only red meat they were going to get all week sometimes is from the shelter where you can donate the meat.
Gotcha.
And to me, that's like a whole circle of life thing that makes it all come together. Like I got the therapy and the experience of being outdoors and getting that break from my life.
Yeah.
And then I learned a lot while I was out there. And then these people get fed, and I have like this tremendous respect for this antelope. I'm like, your little life did a lot of good for a lot of people, and thank you for giving us your life. But
it's hard for a lot of people to understand how that works until you actually do it.
Until you do it, you don't know. Yep. And I think, like, one of my friends recently, I mean, she's in her 40s and she's really well educated, and she's been around people who've done it, but she never really knew that there was so much concern for the environment that you're hunting in, the conservation, the ethics. And I think she wasn't opposed to it, but just knowing more about it really opened her eyes. And I think, I think that's one of the things that the NRA tries to do and does pretty well is educating people.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of people have the idea and the perception of hunting is like people just run out there with machine guns and just slaughter everything that moves.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's not how that works. I mean, there was a time period in this country, hunting is romanticized. It's like there's a reason for it, it's an event. Yeah. But people just assume, and like it's a lack of knowledge, that we just kind of walk down there with flamethrowers and just kind of burn everything to the ground and then just go home. Like, it doesn't work like that at all.
And there's so much discipline and quiet. Like my son, I go actually with my son and my daughter, we've been hunting, and they're still pretty young. But, we went out and got an elk this year, and, the stalking, the discipline, the quiet, the respect for the people that are taking you on the hunt, listening to their instructions, all of that I think is also another important part of growing up. And it gets that sense of community with people who are older than your children in an environment they wouldn't have had otherwise. So, we can have friends of the family over, but this is somebody that they didn't know before, that they just got to have a relationship and a respectful encounter with, that I think helps them grow up to be stronger people too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, I want to talk a little bit about the way you kind of handle firearm ownership and raising your kids as well.
Okay.
All right.